Hello everyone, you're watching Campus France Live. Thanks a lot to be there with us. Today we're going to talk about higher education in France, and more specifically, if you want to study and work in the supply chain or the purchasing fields, you're at the right place, because we are going to discover EM Lyon Business School and its MSc in supply chain and purchasing management. To talk about this program, I'm very pleased to welcome Eric David. Hello.
Hello.
You're the program director, and we're also with Priscille Deville. Hello. Hello. You're a student and program ambassador. You can ask all the questions that you have about the program, about the field, about the different things that you can study in. But let's begin with a quick video to discover EM Lyon Business School. It's called Taking Action, and we will be back just after that.
Today, taking action is about committing and understanding that the planet will be much better off when we take care of it. It is about trusting and holding out a hand to each and every one of us, because together we are stronger. Today, taking action is about giving it all you've got to make the great leap into the workforce. It is about having the courage to climb higher and see further. Today, taking action is about experimenting, innovating, daring. It is a state of mind that we cultivate together. EM Lyon. Learning how to make a difference, here and now.
Eric David, can you introduce yourself in a few words, please?
Oh, I'm a former executive in multinational companies. I've been working all around the world in many countries, especially as an industrial director. And just now you understand that I'm not that young, and I have switched to education because I think that it is important to train the coming generations.
What is EM Lyon Business School? How would you describe the school?
Well, this is 150-old higher education institution, which has been founded, as you may understand, in the 19th century to educate people with high potential who like to become top managers, executives, and maybe create their own company. So the idea is to provide a very wide set of skills. Of course, we have specialization in this or that kind of job, especially supply chain or purchasing, but we try at the same time to develop the entrepreneurship or the ability to run a company.
And the MSc in Supply Chain and Purchasing Management program, what is it exactly? Who is it for, and what do we study inside?
Well, this is a very intensive program in terms of workload, very compact, and we learn a lot of things in 6 domains. So first, of course, supply chain. Second one, purchasing. That's obvious. I mean, how do you buy in a company? How do you organize planning, supplies, deliveries, storage, and the rest? That's the heart of the training. But we also develop a lot of knowledge about strategy and general management, about new technologies, especially digital, robotic techniques and industrial techniques in general. We also insist a lot on the international aspect. Maybe we will have time to discuss more about the language or these international aspects, or traveling abroad, working abroad. And last but not least, we also know that when you work in a company, you need to have a lot of behavioral skills. So you need to be able not only to communicate, that's basic and a little bit commonplace, but you need to be able to negotiate, you need to be able to solve conflicts, you need to be able to solve problems. So all of this is in your brains. It's just a question of attitude and mindset. So we try to train this, even if it is not scientific and not really hard, but this is something soft that you need to develop.
It makes the difference maybe between a manager and a leader. You have to own leadership.
To some extent, yes. Now leadership has two sides. The bright side is you attract people, they follow you. The dark side is you could manipulate them. So we insist a lot on, let's say, ethics or ethics of business or social responsibility. We don't want to transform managers into people who are greedy and just want money. That's important, but that's not the ultimate thing that give you a sense of life.
The idea with this MSc is to be able to work in different work space, different universe. What can we do after the MSc?
Well, first, in industrial companies, you have a lot of purchases, especially industrial purchases for investment, components, even real estate, buildings, plants, smart buildings. And this is booming because we have recycling of new materials, new energies, new ways of transforming investment into services. So this part is really the world of buyers. Then for supply chain, you have people who work with computers. They make forecasting and planning, and you have people who work in the field. They are mainly transporting, storing, and also because of risk management, they pay a lot of attention to traceability in case of issues. They need to be able to solve in emergency cases like this. So this is the basic job. But you can also, of course, after this, you can become the boss, and after the boss of the boss, and in the end, you become the big boss of the world. But joke apart, you can also be a consultant. That is, if you are not working in an operational company who produce and sell, you can also work in a company who is trying to improve for other companies the business processes and the information system, the project management, and that sort of things. So consulting is also a big possibility for students. And then we should not forget that even in not-for-profit activities like non-governmental organizations, administrations, even the army, if you want. I mean, things which are not selling really products. You have supply chain, you have logistics, you have purchasing everywhere. So, in fact, this is a job that recruits, this kind of jobs are subject to a high level of recruitment all around the world.
How long does it last?
Well, the classes last for 9 months. And then you have to to work in a company for at least 4 months. That is the French law. In practice, most students are working for 6 months as trainees.
And in which language is it taught?
Well, all the courses, absolutely 100% are delivered in English. There's a way to accommodate and accept students coming from every country over the world. Now, there is an exception, which is foreigners who arrive and who are not speaking the French language. They have crash courses to learn French as a foreign language. Well, I cannot assure you that after 9 months you speak fluently, but at least you have the basics.
And where are the different courses located at Lyon?
Well, first, you start at Lyon. The school is, you have seen during the little movie in introduction, we are in a very nice place with a lot of trees, which is in the western suburb of Lyon, not in the town center. Well, it's very easy to go to the town center with the transportation, the public transportation, but we are in a very quiet place. Now, we have also exchanges of students with an engineering school. So they send their students and some of their professors. We do exactly the same. So they will have an opportunity to work in a little city which is called Albi in the north of Toulouse, in the south of France. And then we spend 1 month and a half in a foreign university, which is based in Alexandria in Egypt.
Okay, so they travel a lot and they can discover many ways of teaching and learning. In your case, Priscille, can you tell us yours about your background? What did you do before joining Lyon Business School?
Yes. So first of all, I made an European Bachelor of Sciences in Management and Development in Lyon. And then I made a first degree of Master in Production and Logistic Management, but in another school. And then I came for the Master of Science in Supply Chain.
And why did you decide to join EM Lyon? What interested you in the school and in the MSc?
Because first of all, it's a well-known international business school in France, and so I knew that they will have lots of people from other countries. So I was interested by sharing my culture and experiences with other people. And because the courses were delivered in English, and my bachelor was in English too, so I was interested to continue on this side. And because after I would like to work in an international environment. And I was also interested by the fact that some courses are delivered by the professionals. So we know how is the market, what are the constraints, the challenges that the supply chain is facing right now. So it's concrete. And then finally, because of the exchange at the end of the year in Alexandria.
It's interesting, Eric, because it shows us that there is a very strong international part of the program. It's not dedicated to only work on the French market and only work for French industries, but it's designed to work all around the world.
Yeah. So the English language is not just for the show, you know. It's because, well, this is not the only international language. Nevertheless, it's a very useful one to open the door to other cultures and other regions of the world. And then a lot of students are studying in the internship. I mean, working in the company abroad, not in France. Then a lot of companies, even if based in France, they're foreign companies. We have partners, not just French companies, but also international ones. In fact, we try to develop this question of feeling at ease, mindset of feeling at ease wherever you may be in the world, even if not all countries please you same level, but nevertheless we explain that purchasing and supply chain are by definition, by essence, international, and their career will be international. Last but not least, we have something like I've not counted recently, but something like 75 or 80% foreign students in the class. The French are a minority.
Okay, so it's interesting too, because you can have the international experience during the classes. Let's talk a little bit about the 9 months of courses. What are the different courses that you offer? What do we study concretely in the MSc?
Well, the list would be very, very long, but basically I remind a few minutes ago I said we have a series of courses in purchasing. That is, you understand how you can buy, find suppliers, choose the best suppliers, negotiate good contracts, follow up the development of the supplier. Then we have in supply chain, we have a lot of things about mathematics and computing, not just because you are forecasting and planning and using calculation for this, but also because we introduce a lot of blockchain, a lot of robotics, a lot of big data in the activity. Then, last but not least, there is a very concrete and physical part of supply chain, which is logistic, that is transportation, storage, even basic activities like packaging, and that requires that you have a sense of the field. You know, you are not manipulating concepts in a very abstract PowerPoint world of metaverse. You are living in the real world. You know. So we teach this. We try to teach this. Then we have the courses in technology. We have the courses in as I said, the behavioral skills, and also in general management, including strategy, geopolitics, risk management, and that sort of things.
Even if there is some logistical question with the metaverse and all the possibilities,
yes,
you
may use that, but you should have your feet on the ground. You know, you can have big ideas, but at the same time, you are living in the real world with real problems every day. So you need to be a very practical person.
Priscille, from all the different courses that you have, what is your favorite subjects?
My favorite one are the logistics.
Okay.
Because it's very concrete, and I like this this area. I would like to work in supply chain first. I really like the course on communication, because it's really important to know how to communicate, and when you run a company or a plant, it's really important to know how to speak to everybody, all the managers, but also the workers. It's important to take into account all people in your company. So it was very interesting for me. And then I really like the forecasting and purchasing one, because we had a concrete game during these courses, and so it was. We had the theory before, and then we practiced, and so it was funny to see the difference between the theory and the practice, and it was really challenging.
It's really interesting, Eric, what Priscille just said about the communication, because when you work in the logistic field, in the supply chain, you might have to communicate with people in the industry, engineer, but also with people directly working maybe to deliver stuff. So you might have to adapt the way you're talking to people, and it's something that you try to teach in the different classes.
Yes. You never work alone. Even if you are working in a startup with just a couple of people, you work with other people, definitely. And not all of these people belong to the same category. I mean, with some people you are discussing money, with some people you discuss technique, with some people you discuss something else. And in fact, you need to adapt to different interlocutors. A great force of people who are working in the field, and probably some of our students sooner or later will become plant managers or industrial directors. They will have to cope not just with intellectual people, making big strategy or finance calculation, but also with day-to-day people just packaging, transporting, working in a plant. And you need to respect all of these people. You need to understand what they are doing. You need to be able to understand them, to talk to them. And that is very important, that you develop this skill of feeling at ease with everybody.
What is the balance between practical and theoretical courses in the MSc?
Well, I have never calculated this way, but I know that 40% of my professors are academic and 60% come from the industry. Very often we have people with a lot of experience. They are in the range 50-year-old, 60-year-old. So they have been, in general, in very high positions, so vice president, directors in many companies. They are not teaching for the money, they have a lot of money. So they are teaching just because they have experience and they want to transmit this to the new generation. We have a very, very good people coming from industry, and they can tell the truth about the everyday life. At least this is what we try to do. Now, I've never made the calculation in number of hours.
Priscille, can you tell us maybe and describe a project that you had the opportunity to do, something concrete that you were doing in one of your class?
So I can speak about a game. In purchasing, so we were by groups, and we had to choose. We have a constraint, and we had money, time, and we had to invest in suppliers or to make decision to have to maintain our money if we were able. But it was really hard. So just keep your money and make an investment that you will allow you to keep it. And we have to make decisions facing the constraint. And I don't remember, but I think like every 5 minutes we had a new constraint, and so we have to make new decisions, and lots of aspects were moving every time, so it was very hard to
and really fast.
Really fast.
Okay, that's interesting. It's something that you want your students to have a concrete, practical point of view, a project point of view.
Yes, we try to develop this with games. We try to develop that as much as we can with visits. especially during a week we spend traveling and visiting enterprises abroad. This year we will go to Belgium and then to Netherlands to visit the port of Antwerp and the port of Rotterdam. Rotterdam is the fourth port in the world, and so not only there is the port itself with the maritime transportation, but also a lot of enterprises in the area, and we also encourage and develop a lot of business cases. You know, a business case is an excellent way to learn, which is not theoretical, not academic. It's like problem solving. You know, you have to solve the case of an enterprise, blah, 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 blah. So this is the story of the enterprise. You have to discover what the problem is with this enterprise and what you can do and choose the best solution and try to think about the implementation of it. So as much as we can, we try to be practical.
What makes you different, you think, from other schools that offer MSc in supply chain? What are the specificities of Emlyon Business School?
Well, there are plenty of excellent schools within our colleagues. What we try to do is first to be complete. That is, when we compare ourselves with other programs, there is no dark spot, you know, there is no black hole that we do not cover. And the second, so we are complete. The second thing is we insist a lot on environment. We insist a lot on new technologies, robotics, digital, and we insist a lot on the international aspect, including the risks, including cybersecurity, geopolitical risks. So risk management is a key issue for the coming years. There are a lot of recruitment based on risk management now.
Your business school, it's also possible to study supply chain in engineering school. What would be for you the difference between the two approaches?
Well, I would say that when you are in an engineering school, in an institute of technology, you learn more the technical aspect. And when you are in a business school, probably for many reasons, even unconscious, you learn more the business sciences, management sciences. So I would recommend, if you are already an engineer, go to a business school. If you are already, if you have studied in a business school, it can be interesting to go to an engineering school. That is, try to develop your toolbox of an excellent manager in all domains when you are young. When you are young, you can learn everything very quickly. So the more you know, the better it is.
If you're joining us, thanks a lot to be there with us today. You're watching Campus France Live, and we're talking about supply chain management and purchasing and discovering the MSc of Emlyon Business School. We're now going to talk about the admission, and you can keep on asking all the questions that you have on the different chat sections. Eric, what background do you require to apply to the MSc?
I would say all backgrounds. We have, well, to be more specific, we have about 35-40% engineers. We have about 50% people coming from business schools. And then the rest, which is about 10%, is very diverse. We have people who have studied international affairs. We have people who have studied economy. We have lawyers. We have people who have been working in different fields. Why not? That could happen in the future. Doctors in medicine or pharmacists, or I mean, every kind of people is welcome. What we require is a great motivation for the job. That is, you don't come just for tourism and say, oh, why not? No, you need to come and know why you are here. And then demonstrate a lot of maturity and potential. That's all. Then the rest will come by itself.
What are the different steps to apply to the program?
Well, you have to fill in documents on the website of the school. Everything is electronic. That is, you don't need to write a letter. You don't need to come physically. You just do everything on internet. So you have to post, of course, your application, then submit a certain number of mandatory documents like CV, resume, sort of, justification of what you have studied before and so on. Then you have some cognitive online testing. That is some games, and you have to play the games. These games are not for the fun. These games are to detect if you have problem solving or logic reasoning or some skills in your approach of things. Then we have a series of question and answers, and that's very simple. For this, we have 4 little videos of 1.5 minutes. So we ask questions at random. We have a big database of questions. And then every candidate is asked 4 questions. And then you have to explain what you think about this question. These questions are related to the job of buyers or supply chain. So you have questions about economy, transportation, relationship between countries, and so on. That may impact this. Even if you don't know how to answer, you can answer simply, I'm sorry, I don't know. You are young, you are junior. It's perfectly acceptable. But what is not acceptable is to try to bluff and say, well, blah, 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 and that is not true. So we try to detect if you have some knowledge and open mind about this job and motivation for the job.
And then do you have like an interview or?
No. Or in some specific cases it happens, but in this case it is the candidate who asks for an interview. But we never ask. On our side, we don't request any exam or interview.
And what would a candidate ask for an interview?
To know more about the school.
Okay, so it's more because they want to know more.
Why?
Okay.
To be very transparent, because they are candidates in several schools, and in the end they want to choose. So sometimes they have applied in different places, they have been accepted, and then they would like to discuss to make the final choice.
Priscille, what would be your advice with all these steps? How did you prepare, and what would you advise the candidates to do?
Nothing very special because it was really easy. You just have to prepare your CV, but it's basic. And for the tests, if I remembered well, I did nothing special, just be what you are in everyday life, because it's transparent, so no need to make something special.
It's not a big exam that you have to prepare for months or stuff like that. Do you require a previous background in supply chain? Is it important to have in the studies and in the professional experience?
Not at all mandatory.
Okay.
But for some students, it demonstrates the motivation. If you have a lead, something that shows that you have a backbone in your career orientation, it means that you have a decision which is based on solid arguments. Then I need to mention something about the maturity and the age of students, because some students are not junior. Some students are 28, 29, 30-year-old. That means that they have already been working for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So they have a first experience in a real world of companies. And in this case, in most cases, it is in supply chain or purchasing, of course.
More practical questions for the international students watching us today. We know that it might sometimes be complicated, all the procedure that you have to get the visa once accepted, to find a location, a place to live. How do you help them with all these practical phases?
Well, we have that is for coming. You have a student life support department. For the internships or finding jobs, we have a career center and internship support. So we try to help our students in the way they can find a home, etc. But in the end, we cannot guarantee that they will have a visa to work in another country, or that this is up to the embassies to deliver visas and the rest.
We are now going to talk about the student life. Priscille, how would you describe the life in the MSc? Do you have a lot of group projects? Do you help each other? Do you have a lot of events? How does it work in the MSc?
Globally, we are a lot in class. We are 30, about 30, and we sometimes go and have a drink together. And we did what we did this year. We went to the restaurant, for example, the Chinese restaurant, and the Chinese people were presenting the different dishes. So it was very interesting. And we have some sport courses that we can join at l'UM. And so we sometimes share this kind of moment with some people of the class. And yes, that's it.
What is interesting, Eric David, is that school is maybe the first place where you can learn to network, to talk about your passions, to maybe make group projects, create a little startup. It all begins here.
Yes, it is important in your professional life to develop your network, to develop the list of people you know and the contact you maintain. So first, you have alumni. You have the people who have studied in the same school in the same year or not in the same year. Then your network of professors is not just academic professors. You have a lot of people in industry. I mean, I'm not sure that every professor would recruit the whole class, but of course that is opening the door to many enterprises. At least these people can coach you and tell you if they recommend this. They can even say, okay, call a certain person that I know, and then you will have a contact and so on. Then we try, well, of course, in the internships, you develop contact within your company. But when you are, for example, developing your master dissertation, let's call that the professional thesis. It's not a PhD in 3 years, it's just 6 months. But nevertheless, it is a small thesis. And when you do that, this is an excellent occasion to make phone calls to people, to interview them. And then, if I call you and I tell you, hey, please hire me, I need to find a job, probably you will say, well, I have no position and so on. Now, if I call you and say, well, I'm a student, I'm studying this topic, would you be so kind as to answer my question within 30 minutes on the phone? You will probably say yes. And then I can call you again within 6 months because now you are my contact. So the fact that you contact a lot of people while you are working, for reasons that you are students, you are studying this or that topic, you would like to talk with them, you would like to interview them. This is a way to develop your network. And that's a fantastic thing for later. Then we recommend that the student remain active in the Alumni Association and also in many professional associations around the world.
And the professional world and the professional part of the program is really important. As you said earlier, they have to achieve an internship. Can you tell us a few words about the internship?
Well, the internship is a professional job. You work in an enterprise, in a normal job. For the French Ministry of Higher Education, the minimum is 4 months if you want to get your diploma. In practice, in general, enterprise sign a contract for 6 months. Not more than 6, because after it would be illegal activity. So in general, they are not supposed to work more than 6 months. After, they need to transform that into a normal contract. And then the advantage is, during the internship, you are considered as a student. So you don't pay taxes. That is, you receive some money, but you don't pay taxes because you are a student and not an employee.
You told us earlier, Priscille, that you were interested in the logistic field, supply chain. Do you already know where you're going to do your internship? Did you begin all the interview process? It will be in May, June, something like that?
It must start in July.
In July?
You can start later because it's only 4 months for the minimum. I didn't have my internship yet, but I started to make the research, and I know that there are a lot of offers on the market. A lot of companies are looking for interns in supply chain. And EM Lyon is organizing the Career Forum. It's an event on which you can meet lots of companies and speak with the workers, the employees who are working there. And it's really interesting to speak with these people about your previous experiences and your project, what you want to do. So it's it's a nice start to make your research.
And do you already target some companies? Do you already know what kind of companies are you targeting?
Yes, I'm looking for transportation one, and food and beverage, and also the luxe one.
Okay, so you have plenty of opportunities.
Yeah.
After that, after the internship, after the MSc, how does it go for your student when they arrive in the professional world?
Well, first, I have observed in the past years that several students, I would say about 1/3, they find a definitive job while they are still an intern. That is, they don't need to get their diploma and say, wow, now I need to find a job. No, they find a job during the internship, just before they get the diploma. Now, for the other ones, the time needed to find a job is very, very short. They never wait to find a job. And in fact, the positions in which they work depend on their previous activity, previous background, previous experience, maybe for those who are not junior. Then every situation is different, but definitely they find a job very quickly. We also help them with some partner enterprises which recruit a lot. For example, every year we have people working in maritime transportation because systematically every year they hire 1 or 2 of our students.
And what are the salaries in this field? You told us earlier that the professor in the program were rich, so it's possible to be and to get rich thanks to.
I was joking because, well, these people are in general 50 or 60 years old, so they have positions of vice presidents or, you know, I mean big people. But for students, to come back to important questions. In general, when you finish your studies, you can get a job for something around 40,000 euros. In France, now if you work in other countries, the tariffs can be very different. That is to be compared to the purchasing power, I mean the cost of living in each country. You are very well paid where you are working in a Germanic or Scandinavian country. You are very well paid when you are working in an Anglo-Saxon country, but be careful in Anglo-Saxon country. Very often you have to, you are a chartered professional. That is, you need to be accepted as a member of the club. You need to pass through some local procedures of being accepted by professional associations. So the journey is long.
What would be, to conclude, your advice for the international students watching us today and planning to come to study supply chain and purchasing management at EM Lyon?
Well, I would say 2 things. First, in general, the jobs are really interesting and you have a lot of recruitment. Now, we have good rankings. And this is a good reason to study in a place which is, let's say, we have some good reputation. And now for international students, why coming to France to study in France? Or why coming to Europe and study in Europe? I insist on this because, of course, we are located in Lyon. This is not very far from the mountains if you want to ski, or not very far from the sea if you want to swim. But nevertheless, you are in France, but at the same time, you are in Europe. And if you are not a European citizen, if you are coming from other regions of the world, this is a way to set a foot in Europe and then work in the Netherlands, work in Germany, work in Italy, work in Spain, or wherever you want. And in fact, this can be very interesting to spend some time in a different culture. If you are Chinese, if you are Indian, if you are Latin American, you come and discover Europe and work in Europe for a couple of years. And that is really developing your CV. You know, an international CV is worth a lot of money.
Thanks a lot, Eric David and Priscille Deville, for having been with us today. Thanks to you for having watched us. If you still have questions about EM Lyon Business School or about the program, don't hesitate to ask them on the chat section, and don't hesitate to visit the website of EM Lyon Business School. See you soon on Campus France Live.